Hi everyone. Today I am going to discuss about the graphic presentation of data. Introduction of graphic presentation. The presentation of data in the form of graph is called the graphic presentation of data. The graph is the visual form of presentation of data. It is the geometrical image of your data. A graph is more attractive than a table or a figure. Even a common man can understand the message from the graph. The comparison can be made between two or more phenomena is very easy with the help of a. The uses of graphical presentation is it gives a clear picture of the entire data. It also simplifies a complex data. It is attractive as well as impressive. It is easily memorized. The median mode can be located in the graphs. It facilitates the comparison of two or more frequency distribution on the same graph itself. It gives an idea of the pattern of distribution variables in the population. The types of graphs are line graph, histogram, frequency polygon, frequency curve, and oval. The line graph, it is otherwise called a time series graph. The line graphs are used to display the comparisons between two variables which are plotted on the x-axis and y-axis. In line graph, the data are represented in straight lines. The x-axis represent the measure of time while the y-axis represent the percentage or the measure of the quantity. For example, here the line graph, here it is the line graph. The x-axis shows the measure, the time. The y-axis shows the percentage or the measure of the quantity. They organize and present data in a clear manner and shows the relationship between the data. The line graphs display a change in the direction. It shows trends of an event occurring over a period of time to know whether it is increased or decreased. The line graph is divided into four types: the graph of one variable, graph of two or more variable, range chart, band graph. The graph of one variable, that is, when only one variable is to be represented, the desired graph is obtained by plotting the time variable along the x-axis and the values of variables on the y-axis on a suitable scale. The points are joined by the straight lines. And for the graph of two or more variables, this graph, instead of one variable, two or more variables are taken at a time. The comparison is very easy in this graph. For a graph of one variable, here the sales for different years is mentioned in the table. It was plotted in the line graph. Here for different years, how much sold is represented in the line graph. This is for one variable. And for the graph of two or more variables, here one example is there. For example, the yield of different crops like apple, orange, and banana in different months like January, February, March, like that is represented in the table. It will be plotted as a line graph. It shows like this. Next one is the range chart. It is used to exhibit the minimum and the maximum values of the variable. The band graph. In band graph, various component parts are represented in the form of bands, one above the other. It is also known as component line chart or layer chart. The various components are platted one over the other, and the gaps between the successive layers are filled by different shades or different colors, etc. Examples for a range chart is the wildlife population. Here the different colors are showing the different animals. The blue color indicates the view, and orange or the indicates the dolphin, and the gray color indicates the bird. And for the band graph, here the temperature that for different month is indicated. The lowest temperatures are here, and the highest temperatures are here for different months. One is the histogram. The histogram is a bar chart or the graph showing the frequency of occurrence of each. The values of the variables being analyzed. It is represented by a set of rectangular bars. The variables, that is the class intervals, are shown on the x-axis and the frequencies are on the y-axis. The height of each rectangle represents the frequency of the class interval. Each rectangle is formed with the others so as to give a continuous picture. Such a graph is called as staircase or block diagram. And this figure shows the histogram. In the x-axis, the class intervals are there, and in the y-axis, the frequencies are there. It looks like a staircase. Next one is the frequency curve. It is a graph of frequency distribution where the line is smooth. The variables are taken along the, as like that everything, the variables are taken along the x-axis and the frequencies are along the y-axis. The total area under the frequency curve represents the total frequency of the values. It is the graphical representation of the frequency distribution. For example, this figure shows the frequency curve. This one is the frequency polygon. It is also like a histogram with the straight lines which are joining the midpoints of the top horizontal sides of the rectangles. The variables are taken along the x-axis and the frequencies are along the y-axis. This figure shows the frequency polygon, that is the straight lines joining the straight lines which are joining the midpoints of the horizontal sides of the rectangles. The area of the polygon is equal to the area of the histogram because the area left outside is just equal the areas included in it. The total area under the frequency polygon represents the total frequency. Next one is the Ogive curve, that is the cumulative frequency curve. When the cumulative frequencies are plotted on a graph, then a frequency curve obtained is called the ogive or the cumulative frequency curve. The class limits are always taken along the x-axis and the cumulative frequencies are along the y-axis. And this figure shows a ogive curve. There are two types of ogives, that is less than ogive and more than ogive. For less than ogive, the variables, that is the values, that is the class limits, is taken along the x-axis and the less than cumulative frequencies are along the y-axis. The less than cumulative frequencies are plotted against their respective variable values. Then these points are joined by a smooth curve. The resulting graph is called less than ogive. In more than ogive, the variables values, that is the class limits, is taken along the x-axis and the more than cumulative frequencies are along the y-axis. The more than cumulative frequencies are plotted against their respective variable values. Then these points are joined by a smooth curve. The resulting graph is called more than ogive. And this graph shows both less than ogive and more than ogive. Thank you.